Hello, my name is Katie and welcome to my video. Today I'm filming my reading plans for winter. I'm defining winter as December, January, February. I know that's not exactly when winter takes place, but that's how I'm approaching it just because it's easier for me. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do here. I knew I didn't really want to do a strict December TBR or anything of that nature, but then I didn't really know what I wanted to read for the next 3 months. So what I've done is I've kind of just stacked up buddy reads that I'm planning on doing and just a couple books I've already gotten started, and then I'm doing 2 different readathons, one at the end of December and one that's the whole month of January. And I got a book for every prompt there, and whatever I don't get done, I'm going to try to finish in February. So that's the plan. I don't know how successful I'll be, but that's what I'm going to try to do. I suppose we can start with some books that I've already started, just kind of randomly, and then I'll roll into the buddy reads that I'm planning on doing or have already started, and then we'll go into the readathons. The first book that I've started is Next by Michael Crichton. This was a recommendation from a friend. I haven't gotten super far into it yet, but it's definitely intriguing me because it surrounds a biotech corporation, and I think that's pretty interesting because I've been studying biotechnology off and on for like 2 years now. So I'm really looking forward to see what happens here. Another book I'm currently reading is The Night Watch by Sarah Waters. This is pretty interesting. I really want to finish this. I took on too much. Is the problem. So things are getting done a little slower than they normally would be. This has a really interesting format in that you're going backwards in time. So when the book starts, you're in 1947, I think, and then the next section takes place in 1944, and then the final part takes place in 1941. And you're basically just following these characters and watching as their lives intersect. So really good. I want to finish it and I want to watch the movie, so I'm going to attempt to do that in the next couple weeks. Another book that I'm currently reading but didn't bring in here with me, and I'm not going to get it now, is The Warmth of Other Suns. I think it's the epic story of something about a great migration. I don't know, I should have the cover up here, and it's by Isabel Wilkerson. I think I'm about 70 pages into it. I can't remember exactly, but I'm really, really, really enjoying it, and I really hope that I can finish it in December. Another book that I started, which probably won't come as a surprise because I feel like a lot of other people are reading it right now, and that is A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabaa. This is the final book in the An Ember in the Ashes quartet. Such a good series. If I wasn't in the midst of finals, I probably would have just sat down and binge read this in like a day. However, I am in the midst of finals, so I've gotten probably not even a quarter of the way through it, and I'm really sad, but it's really good so far. The final book that I kind of just randomly picked up is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I have this on Kindle, but I also have like the audible narration that comes with it. And I've really been enjoying it so far. My father recommended it to me, and I'm having a great time. And I talked about this in I think my haul video, and several people in the comments told me what a great story it is. So I'm really anxious to continue with that. Next, I have a couple buddy reads that I'm in the midst of. The first is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I am enjoying this so much more than I thought I would. I'm over halfway, I think, which is pretty impressive because this is a tome. But I'm buddy reading this with Brittany from Literally Smitten, and we are just having the best time talking about it. I always just assumed that I was never actually going to read anything by Tolstoy because they're so very intimidating. But wow! Like, one, he is such an intellectual, and he can write complexity in characters better than any author I've ever seen. Now, is this a perfect book? No. There's some sections that I think just, like I just didn't need to learn that much about farming, frankly. But for the most part, I'm enjoying it so very much, and I'm happy that this buddy read gave me the push that I needed to pick it up. The other buddy read that I'm currently doing, we've just started it on the 10th, we haven't gotten super far yet, and that is, oops, Okay, there we go. The Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. This is book 2 in the David Bad series, or trilogy? I think it's a trilogy. I'm buddy reading this with Renee from the Librarian of Alexandria. We read book 1, which is The City of Brass? Yeah, that's right. We read that book back in October, took a break in November because nonfiction November was like really stressing me out a little bit. And then we're picking this one back up, and then we're probably just gonna roll right into book 3 once we finish this one, is what I assume is gonna happen. But yeah, I'm really having a good time with this. The other buddy read that I think I'm doing is a buddy read of Persuasion. It's happening in January. It's being hosted by Amrita from Amrita by the Book. I will also obviously link all these channels in the description box so you can go check them out. So the first readathon that I'm doing is the 12 Days of Bookmas. It takes place from December 26th to January 6th. I think they did that because they were trying to do like have it pretty close to the actual like 12 Days of Christmas. It's hosted by M from Bookish Potatoes and Catherine from Catherine Zofria. I might be saying that wrong. Either way, they will be linked in the description box so you can easily find them. I saw this and I thought it was such a fun idea, so I'm just gonna go, I think, and say the prompts and then what I'm reading for them, although some of them are less prompts and more activities, which is kind of fun. So first is 12 Drummers Drumming, read a book with music in it. For this, I've chosen a book that I don't have, but have been incredibly eager to get to, especially because I heard Noelle from the channel Noelle 7 Pages, I think. I will also link her in the description box below. But in her wrap-up, she talked about The Kingdom of Beck by Marie Lu. And I had been really intrigued to read it because it's a story about Mozart's sister, Nan Earl. She was also a music prodigy, and I didn't know she existed. And I think that's terrible. And it just sounded like such a fascinating story, and when I mentioned that I might put this in for this readathon, for this prompt, Noelle said it would be perfect because like in the audiobook they even have like clips of music being played in it. So I'm very excited to pick that up. Next is 11 Pipers Piping, listen to an audiobook. For this I've selected Gods and Robots, Myths, Machines, and Ancient Dreams of Technology by Adrienne Mayer. I recently picked this up as an audiobook, and it just sounds like everything I could possibly want in a book, and I really hope it doesn't disappoint me. Then we have 10 Lords a-Leaping, which is read a historical fiction novel. For this, I have selected The Pull of the Stars by Emma Donoghue. I picked this up a while ago, and I think my intention was to read it immediately, and for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. It's set in Ireland, and it surrounds it's not a pandemic in the sense that we are currently in the midst of a pandemic. It's more of a fever, and I believe it's only really targeting pregnant mothers. Yes, okay, it's a flu that is targeting pregnant mothers. And I think possibly it was just a little bit too close to home at the time. I didn't really want to read about people getting sick. Now I think we're far enough into this that I've just accepted that this is life now, and I can go back to my regularly scheduled reading habits. So I'm very eager to get to this. Then we have 9 Ladies Dancing, read a book with a female protagonist. For this I have selected The Secret Chapter by Genevieve Cogman. This is book 6, I think? It doesn't say. I think it's book 6 in the Invisible Library series. Book 7 releases in December, so I thought this was the perfect time to pick up book 6. We do have a female protagonist. Her name is Irene. She's not actually my favorite character in the series. I really just haven't been able to connect to her in the 5 books that I've read, but I still really enjoy the adventure of each novel. So I'm eager to continue this series. The next prompt is one that's more of an activity. It's 8 Maids of Milking. Read while drinking something warm. Probably going to do this with any number of these books because I am a fan of both coffee and hot chocolate and frequently drink those while reading, so that shouldn't be difficult. Next prompt is 7 Swans a Swimming. Read a book that takes place on or near water. I have 2 options for this, and I'm not sure which I'm going to go with. The first is The Girl in the Mirror by Rose Carlyle. This it doesn't take completely place on water, but it does involve a shipwreck, and obviously there's water on the cover. It's a thriller that deals with twins and a case of mistaken identity. Both of which are things I enjoy in a thriller, so I might do this one. The other option here is The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. Obviously, water is involved. I think the entire book takes place on a ship, so I am curious to see how I would get along with this. So one or the other, or possibly both. I'm not sure yet. I couldn't decide, so I just threw them both on the list. Next is 6 Geese a-Laying, read a book while laying down. Also not a problem since I do a good portion of my reading in bed before I go to sleep. The next prompt is 5 Golden Rings, read a book with gold on the cover. I had so many books I could have slotted into this, so I just picked 2 that I'm looking forward to. The first is Transcendent Kingdom by Gyasi. I haven't read, is it Homegoing? Is that her first book? I feel like that's right. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, please. I haven't read that. This one I just happened to pick up because it was honestly like a convenience factor. I saw it and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, and I've heard lots of good things about that author. So I'm hoping that this will go well, and then I'll pick up her first book. I believe this follows a woman who is a PhD candidate in neuroscience, and that sounds amazing. I don't know exactly how much neuroscience-esque information is going to be included in here, but I just love a book that features a highly educated woman, so I'm pretty keen to get to this one. The other option I have for this is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Now, we could argue whether this is yellow or gold. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm putting it in this category. I have heard so many good things about this book. It was on the Goodreads Choice Awards, so I desperately want to get to it. Next prompt is 4 Calling Birds, read a book during a live stream. I do believe that the creators of the readathon are in fact going to be hosting some live streams, so I don't think it will be difficult. If not, I'll just call a book friend and we'll FaceTime while we read or something. I think that should count. The next prompt is 3 French Hens, read a book that takes place in a different country. For that, I have chosen 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. That's just always how I've said it in my head, and it just now occurred to me that they might be incorrect. If that's incorrect, can someone please correct me in the comments? I read The Kite Runner years and years and years ago because someone told me it was one of their favorite books, and it was excellent. And I found this one on Better World Books, and I was like, you know what? I liked that author. Let's pick that up. I have a bookmark in here because I think I intended to start it right away, and then I just never did. So we're going to correct that this winter. The next prompt is 2 Turtle Doves, read a book that has a multi-perspective, at least dual perspective, but you know, the one I'm choosing is multi-perspective. For that, I'm going with the buddy read I'm doing, The Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. I'm not sure if we'll still be reading this particular book by the time this readathon rolls around, but if not, I will be reading the final book in the series, which is, I actually don't know what it's called. Wow, I should probably figure that out. And I'm certain that that's going to be multi-perspective since the first 2 in the series were. The final prompt is Partridge in a Pear Tree, and that is to read the group book, which is The 12 Dates of Christmas by Genevieve. I'm probably going to pick it up and read it because I think it'll just be like a nice, relaxing, easy kind of read. I don't typically read Christmas-type books, just because they don't usually appeal to me, but since it's part of the readathon, I thought it could be fun, so I will probably grab that. And that concludes my reading plans for the 12 days of Bookmas. There's no way I'm going to read all of those in those 12 days, but that's okay because I'm just going to roll them over into either January or February, and that works for me. The next readathon I am taking part in is called Bookworm's New Year. I think I might have that wrong. I'm pretty sure I wrote it down while I was watching the announcement videos, so I think I have it right. This is the entire month of January. The intent is just kind of help you, tick some boxes early in the new year. It is hosted by Liz at the channel Literary Lizzie, Mindy from Mindy's Book Journey, David at David's Book Reviews, and then Noelle at Noelle 7 Pages. I will link all them in the box below. I will try to add all the relevant information, including announcement videos. I'm going to do my best. Sometimes I forget things, but I'm going to try. So I'm just going to go through, and for this I do have a book for every single prompt as well. And then, like I said, if I don't get to all these, I'm just going to roll them over into February and hope for the best. The first book I have is for the prompt, A Book You Meant to Read in 2020, and that is Stiff, The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers by Mary Roach. If you saw my try a chapter tag, you'll know that I tried the first chapter of this. It was the introduction, but it was really good, and I thought it was really funny, and it's a topic that I don't see a lot of books about, and I've definitely never read a book about. So I wanted to get to this in December, but it's definitely not going to happen. So I think this fits perfectly for the prompt, A Book You Meant to Read in 2020. The second prompt is a 2021 reading goal. Now, I haven't really sorted out my reading goals totally yet. I'm still kind of working on it. One that I know I want, though, is to read more translated works. So for that, I have done Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, it's a Japanese translation of a book where it involves time travel. You can go back in time and, like kind of revisit parts of your life, but the place in which you use to time travel is a coffee shop, and the rule is that you must get back before the coffee gets cold. And I just think that's going to be such an interesting premise, and I can't wait to discover all the stories of the people who interact with this particular shop. Prompt 3, Physical Book Left Unread the Longest. So this is maybe cheating a little bit. So this is a book, I do have a physical copy of it, but it hasn't been on my shelves for that long. It has, however, been on my Goodreads TBR for the longest. So I think it kind of works, and that is The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I know a lot of people read this in high school, but I never did, and I feel like I need to rectify that. Prompt 4 is to read a 2011 favorite. The idea of this is like it's a decade-long throwback. The problem is 2011 was a year in which I was not reading because I was going through some things. And I can't even think of any books that were released in 2011 that later on became a favorite. So I'm fudging a little bit, and I'm gonna go with a book I read in 2012 that was released in 2012 that was a favorite, because that's about as close as I can get with both my memory and actually reading. And that is Through the Door by Jodi McIsaac. I actually picked this up for free on the Kindle app, or the Kindle store I think it was at the time. I don't know, it was a while ago now. But it is a book, it actually is a series, and it surrounds Celtic mythology. And I loved it. I fell in love with that book. I think I've read it twice at this point, and I really want to give it a reread, so I will be doing that for this readathon. Prompt 5 is a book that's at the top of your TBR. And for that, I have picked Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. I cannot believe that I still haven't read this book. I don't know what's wrong with me. I've been sitting here staring at it, and nearly every week I'm like, oh, I should pick that up and read it. But then I look at the numerous books I've already started reading and haven't managed to finish, and I talk myself out of it. So we're going to try to rectify that this winter. Prompt 6 is a book you are intimidated by. This, I believe, doesn't necessarily have to be like it's so long that you're intimidated, or it's ridiculously intellectual and it intimidates you. I think it's just anything that for whatever reason you have put off reading because you get like anxiety about it. And for me, and I really don't know why this is, that's Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. I don't even know how this book came on my radar. I just remember hearing about it and thinking that it sounded fantastic and that I wanted to read it. And it won a Pulitzer, so why? I don't know. Every time I think about it, I'm like scared for some reason. So yeah, gonna try to knock this out this winter and show myself that there's nothing to be afraid of. Prompt 7 is a book written by a person of color. I actually, this was a hard decision for me, and not because I don't have books written by people of color, but because I have so many incredible ones that I didn't know what to choose. So I looked around and I went with one that I'm particularly excited for, and I actually could have slotted this in a couple other spots, I think, but decided just to put it here and free those spaces up for other things I wanted to read, and that is The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abby Dare. Good lord. I messed this up last time I was filming for my book haul, and I still have not managed to look up the correct pronunciation of this. Ridiculous. I will do that before I do a wrap-up. I promise. But yes, this is also on the Goodreads Choice Awards, and since I mentioned it, I've gotten a couple different comments of people telling me that this was incredible, and I am so, I'm so ready for it. It's not going to be an easy read, because it's about a young girl who gets sold into marriage, which is unfortunately a practice that is still far too common these days. But I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to read it and I'm going to get through it. I'm probably going to cry through it. But that's okay. If I were going to do a 5-star predictions list, this would be on it. Prompt 8 is a book from a rarely read genre. And it just occurred to me that I don't know if I wrote these prompts down exactly how they're worded, or if I just wrote it down in like how I would remember what I was going to pick for it. I know they have a bingo card, so I'm gonna try and find that and link it in the description box so we can correct that error. But this is Confessions of a Domestic Failure by Bunmi Laditan? Oh my gosh, why am I so bad at names? Anyway, this is kind of more like chick lit, which is not something I read a ton of. So I thought, since it's sitting on my shelf, it might just be nice to just a relaxing, maybe funny kind of read. And it might give me a break from things like The Girl with the Louding Voice. That's probably going to be soul-crushing. The final prompt is to read a debut novel. For this, I have chosen The Henna Artist by Gyasi. I also believe this is historical fiction. I looked up Gyasi because I was looking into whether or not this was actually the author's debut novel, and it is. And it's written based off of the author's mother's story. And that sounds fascinating, and I'm curious to see how personal it's going to end up being, because it's based off of someone's life that the author was so close to. So those are the books for the Bookworm's New Year Readathon. I think I'm saying that right. Man, I hope so. Anyway, then I have one other book that I just kind of want to like shoehorn in here. So, okay, my little sister and I are the absolute worst, and last night we were like, you know what would be really cool if we do our gift exchange now. So we've already opened our Christmas presents from each other. Mom, don't worry, yours are still safe. We told you we wouldn't open them till Christmas, and we haven't. But anyway, so last night I got this book, and that's The Lost Queen by Signe Pike. I have had this on my TBR for a while now, and it was funny because I just made her a list of like 5 books that I was interested in, and she could just pick one. And one of them was a new release that I know was like on a prominent table at Barnes & Noble, and I assumed she would just walk in, see that one, pick it, and walk out. Not this, which is more of a backlist title. But what she did instead was she looked up the books on the list and chose a book that she thought she would also like. And she went and got that one for me. And she even had to ask the lady at Barnes & Noble where to find this book. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. So I'm really interested in this. It's been compared to, let's see, Outlander meets Camelot, a sweeping magical tale. Yes, please. Those are the books. I honestly don't even know how many books that was. probably a lot, but keep in mind this is for like 3 months, and I've already started a good portion of them. So while I'm probably not going to get to all of them, I think I can get to a good chunk of them. So let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Any of these you have read, any that you want to read, even if you just want to throw your 2 cents in about books that you saw on my list that you hated. That's fine too. I love reading your comments. It makes my entire day. If you're new here and you like my content, subscribe, stick around. I'd love to see you in my comments. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you soon. Bye.